Hello. Oh, you're still on mute.
Hello, how are you doing
Hello.
today? Good to meet you again. How has been your day?
It's gone really fast. I know this is the end of your day, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's like,
We're at like lunchtime. So my day went fast. My morning went really fast.
I
Um,
can just imagine, you know.
it's getting towards the end of the week, and you know how customers can be like they like to keep all of the problems until like Wednesday, and then they tell you
Yeah,
about them, and you have Thursday
all
and
of a
Friday to
sudden.
fix it. So yeah, but it's been good, and I'm excited for this. I'm really super excited for this.
Thank you so much for joining us and for spending your lunchtime with us.
No problem.
Yeah, it's just wait for a few people to come in, do a bit of welcome, then we kick off.
Okie dokie. Yeah, let's see.
All right, everyone. How are you doing today? How has been your day? How are you doing today? Please confirm if you can hear me. Can you hear me from your end?
Hello, Gloria. Good evening. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Temi, how are you doing today? Good evening.
I'm very well, thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Welcome,
evening. I
welcome.
can hear you.
All right, awesome. Let's inform people in the chat or in the group that we are kicking up right now and they are missing out. Our speaker is here, so we don't want to spend so much time today waiting. Good evening, good evening, good evening. As you're just joining, just let me know how you are feeling about this class today. How are you feeling? feeling about this class? Are you excited? Are you tired that you don't want to probably learn anything today? What are you feeling? What can you put it into words? How was yesterday, by the way? Hope you are implementing what you're going to learn. Hi, Victoria. How are you doing?
Hi, good evening, Gloria.
Good evening. Good to see you.
You too. I couldn't join the class yesterday. I was looking for the link everywhere. I didn't find it, and
Oh,
I was so disappointed. I don't know how, but I'm here today and I'm
I'm happy
ready.
that you are here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that you missed yesterday. Probably we'll find a way of sharing like
recording.
summary. Now the
Okay.
recording is just here and there, so probably we have to share the summary of it. Somebody should remind me. Adedoyin, are you here? You can remind me later. So I have to drop it. Okay, Lillian is
All
feeling
right.
extremely excited. Good to see you, everyone. Welcome to another exciting class. Welcome to Switch to Tech as a customer success. And today we have our speaker in the house already. So, okay, I think we can start since we have let me see. Yeah, we have enough people. Hi, Osereme. I hope I didn't forget that today. I'm very sure. Hi, Deborah. All right, everyone. Switch to Tech as a customer success mentorship program is brought to you by Gloria Michael and Elevate your customer success career. So this is more like a structured program where you are guided on how to transition to customer success, learn or more, not learn, but develop your customer success skills because it's expected for you to have some technical some soft skills already, transferable skills like communication skills. You have organizational skill, problem solving skills, and all. So here is just helping you to like develop them and know what they are because most of us actually have these skills, but we are not using them or we don't even know that they exist. So we are probably helping you to fine tune and understand and also network with industry leaders, experts, and professionals. All right. So at the end of the day, you are expected to have learned so much, be empowered to be able to take your career to the next level. All right, so let's take this norm. This class will be recorded for educational and evaluation purposes. Please drop in the chat if that is okay with you, or you can just unmute and say yes, or drop a plus sign in the chat. Let me see them rolling in. We need consent here. Hi, Gladys. How are you doing today? Hi, Rukaya. Welcome to class.
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having us here. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Mm.
Okay, I need to see them. Okay, recording is okay by you. Yes, I need one or two people before we go ahead, please. The class is going to be recorded. Wants you to know that it's going to want to have like your consent. Awesome, we have enough people. Thank you, guys. All right. So let's go over our norms again. So in this class, you have to be in a Zen environment if you want to participate. Okay. So your by Zen environment, I mean your environment should be quiet, like there should not be anything flying around or distraction. So you'll know how you'll not distract the class. Also, you need to have your camera on so you'll be able to pay attention. You know, once you put up your camera, you probably won't be able to like concentrate. You probably be doing other things. I know that because I've done that and I've experienced that before. So it's always better to have your camera on so that as if you're in the class, like a real class, okay? And last but not least on our norm today is contribute in the class. Don't just keep quiet. You are here to learn like every other person. Don't feel, oh, if I say something, they'll think they are going to think I'm dumb. No, nobody's going to judge you. Nobody, we don't do that here. You already know. So please contribute. Ask questions when you're not clear. All right. All right. So moving on to what we have for today. All of a sudden, my what's it called? My slide is not showing. But then let me go ahead with the mentor. So today we are talking, or our class today is on introduction to customer service, customer success, and customer experience. I know you have heard so many things about those topics. What are they? Why are they all sounding alike? And then are they even different? So we are here to learn about that today. And our tutor for today, our mentor for today is Virginia Bloom. She's a customer, she's a manager of customer experience as a claimant. Please drop in the chat, and also let me see your reactions that you are excited to have her in the class today. Please, let's see some reactions. Let's see some reactions. Let's see some reactions. Let's see some reactions. We have Virginia Bloom today to for our class.
Wonderful. I'm super excited to be here too, everybody.
All right, awesome. Keep it coming in, because she's taking her time to join us, and it's not easy. I can tell you that taking an hour, over an hour, almost 2 hours to join us today is not easy. So we are so appreciative of that. Thank you for joining us, and let's just have a brief introduction. So, Virginia Bloom is a customer success champion, community advocate, enthusiast, and thought leader with over 10 years of experience in the field. As a manager of customer experience and a passionate speaker, Virginia D. Bloom has dedicated her career to helping businesses build stronger customer relationships, drive retention, and create meaningful impact. Her insight on customer success, community engagement, and leadership will be invaluable to anyone looking to grow in this field. So if you have seen Customer Success Collective, she has her articles there. So we are super excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you very, very much. And I'll go ahead and swap with you. And if I can, I will share my screen.
All right, please go ahead.
Oh, it says you have to let me share.
Okay. Let me see. I'll just give you ownership. Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That's a very customer success thing. Something's not working right, and somebody says that's okay. You can own it. You can take care of it.
Absolutely. All right. So you should be able to do that now.
Awesome. All right. So is everyone able to see the presentation?
Yes,
Yes.
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 we
On my end.
can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I will start off here. Again, today we're mostly going to be talking about the differences between customer success, customer experience, customer service. But in doing that, we're also going to talk about why there are different priorities in the way that you communicate when you're sort of tackling those different spaces in your work. Uh, Gloria mentioned before that sometimes customer success, customer experience, they all sort of blend together. And that's because there's not a lot of definition in the industry between these spaces. You know, we just kind of made the joke of, oh, well, we'll let Virginia own the meeting. That is very much, part of customer success, which is there are a lot of things that if a company says, hey, it touches the customers, it ends up with customer service, customer success, customer experience. So there is a lot of blending in those different areas. And we're going to talk about why there are different ways that you want to communicate with your customers depending on what your objective is. So I know we did a little brief introduction, but I want to tell you a little bit about why I decided to be here and why this is important to me. So I pride myself on being a lifelong learner. I strive to never be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, that's a pretty bad day. And I serve on my local library board. It's an elected board. I serve on my local library board. And one of the reasons I do that is because I very much believe in equity and access to education. Anyone who is willing to work for education or work for knowledge should be able to have access to it. And at this point in my career, I feel like I have been given the privilege to pass on the information and the experience I have to those who are willing to receive it and willing to use it. One of my favorite things to do as a leader where I work is I am devoted to leading my people and developing my team. So I love helping, help them grow their skills, watching them learn, watching them take on new projects. Um, One of the things I work to do is make sure that I help my team see their strengths and leverage those strengths to bolster up where they are not as skilled. So that is something I would suggest to everyone. When you find what you're good at, when you find those soft skills you already have, figure out how you take that and leverage it to make your other skills, to level up your other skills. So, what makes me qualified to be here to talk to you all today, to tell you all about these communication skills and the things that I've learned? Absolutely nothing. Nothing, except that I have had the privilege of making mistakes before you all got here to make them. So you will be learning from the mistakes that I have made. But I think one thing I would like everyone here to really remember, and not just today, but as you start to learn from other folks, is that you are the expert at something. You are knowledgeable about something. You all have something wonderful to contribute in whatever space you are in. And even though you're learning something new, I don't want anyone here to lose sight of that. I don't want anyone to think that because you are not already the expert at being a CSM, that you're not already coming to this place with a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, and definitely things to offer the people around you. You're here to elevate your skills, hence the name, but that does not mean you didn't come here with a whole wealth of skills and information that you can share with other folks. So hopefully you guys will feel comfortable sharing some of those experiences today. But if not, I want everyone to walk away remembering no matter what space you're in, you are valuable and you have a voice to be there and you're needed there and your perspective is respected. So we'll take a little bit of time to look at the table of contents here. So you can see we're going to focus primarily on the basics of communication. And we're going to start off the conversation by framing out the general differences between customer service, customer success, and customer experience. And while those are often used interchangeably, they're not always the same and often have a different end goal. And that end goal is what's going to impact your communication choice. It's also going to impact your success in those different channels. After that, we'll talk about some basic methods and strategies of communication and how to best interact with your customers using those. Again, I don't know that any of this information will be brand new and novel. It'll be a different way to think about the methods and the strategies you already have. Especially if you're already working with customers, you'll be familiar with a lot of the situations, a lot of the things we're talking about, and just learning to apply that information, that knowledge you already have toward your CSM career. We're going to talk about customer love languages because it's important that our customers love us back. So we will talk about 5 of the ways that we can act as CSMs to ensure that our customers love us back. And then very, very important, we will talk about strategies to say no to our customers. It's a very important skill, a very important communication muscle. A lot of customer facing folks have difficulty with saying no. So we'll talk about some strategies around saying no to customers and also ways that you can sort of build up your resilience, build up your ability to feel a little bit more comfortable saying no when it's applicable. If we have time, I don't know that we will. If we have time, we may look at communication control, so cadence, content, and style. I don't know that we will have time for that today. If not, I will be back to hang out with everybody on the 16th and we can cover it then. So any questions on our agenda for today? No?
No questions. I think we're good.
All right. So as promised, we're going to start with the foundation. What is the difference between customer service, customer success, customer experience? Does anyone want to take a guess? Does anyone want to hazard a guess what you think the differences are or where you would draw the line for the differences? Okay. Timpote?
Hi, Virginia. It's lovely to have you here and to learn from you. So I think for customer service, you are reacting to customers' complaint. For customer success, you are ensuring the customer is happy with your product or service as an organization,
Okay.
or just following up, like ensuring that you're retaining the customer. And for experience is checking for feedback. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. You're actually pretty close. I'm going to give you a high five on that one. That's a pretty good answer. So we'll take a look here. So very simply put, and you got this right off the bat when we talked about when you said customer service is reactive. The difference between these three is customer service is reactive, customer success is proactive, and customer experience is going to be predictive. So you can see now how these three will blend together, how they will merge together, because there's not going to be a clearly defined line between all of these. So customer service, this is advice or assistance that you give to your customers when they're asking for help. You are reacting to their request for your help. Customer is achievement of a desired outcome. As you learn more about customer success, as you read more about customer success, you will hear lots about outcome based, goal based, goal oriented. These will all be phrases that you hear quite often. And that's because customer success really is centered around ensuring that your customer reaches whatever goal or outcome they told you was important. You'll probably hear me refer to that as what is the win? What is a win for us? I ask my team that all the time when they say, we want to do this, and they want to ask that, what's the win? What do we need to do for at the end them to throw the confetti and be excited that we were part of the process? So that's customer success. Customer experience is literally the experience of the customer, everything along the entire customer journey. And then we'll go back to that statement at the beginning. If it touches the customer, it may land in your lap. This is a bit why. CSMs tend to be the closest to customers, so they have the best vision of what the customer's experience is. So customer experience is the total journey, the sum of all of the touch points and interactions with the brand. So this is touch points with individual people, but also with your product. And then as we start to talk about specific channels, this could also go into how are they experiencing your company on social media? How are they experiencing you through advertisements or commercials? Those things may not live in your responsibility, but they're part of the customer's journey. And they may, in fact, impact how you interact with the customer or how the customer is interacting with you. So any questions on the three definitions before we get a little bit deeper into why the difference matters?
No question yet for me.
Okay. All right. So depending on the role where you're working, you will have to determine if you need to be reactive or proactive, and if you need to be transactional or strategic. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Every CSM role is going to be different the expectations are going to be different. And sometimes just how you choose to handle a customer will be different. But it's important to think, am I trying to be reactive? Did they ask me for something and I'm trying to react to it? Am I trying to be proactive? Am I trying to drive them towards a goal or an objective they already told me about? And then, are we trying to be transactional? Is this quick? Is this a quick back and forth? Or is this going to be a more strategic conversation? And so you guys can already see how this is going to change what methods you want to reach out to your customer. There are going to be more successful methods, more successful channels to do specific types of communication than others. So you can see here, this is an adapted graph that shows, where different sort of common roles or common responsibilities for a customer success or customer experience team, where those live. So customer onboarding, it might be a little bit transactional, answering questions, going back and forth, making sure the customer understands. But the strategic objective is to make sure that everyone on your customer's team understands how to use the product, what they need to do to be successful in the product. When you're looking generally at customer success, you're looking at strategic and proactive. You're looking at, what is my strategy? What is my plan to help my customer ultimately reach this outcome or reach this goal? And then all the way on the other end, you've got things like support tickets and requests. Not every team, I know my team though, we do handle a lot of the support tickets because we know it's important to our customers. We know if there's something specific for that customer that might change how the support ticket is handled. So we do jump into support quite often. And the conversations we have, the way we speak to customers through support ticketing, often a little bit different from, say, when we sit down and have a 90-minute business review or QBR. It's very different. It changes the cadence of our conversation. It changes with the objective of the conversation. So this gives you an overall view, and you can see there's the CX in the middle, which is the customer experience is all of these, how our customer experiences every touch point with us along this entire journey. So knowing whether you are trying to be strategic or transactional, reactive, proactive, or eventually predictive is going to determine for you how best to reach out to your customer or how best to manage the conversation moving forward. All right, so let's break down some of the methods and strategies, dig in a little bit to sort of the heart of what we were trying to talk about. Oh, is that better? Somebody said the audio was not working very well.
It's fine.
Okay. I'll keep going then. All right. So we'll talk about some of the communication methods and strategies. And I broke this down a little bit for everyone. First, we're going to be covering basic methods of reaching out to your customer. After we talk about that, the reaching out to your customer, we'll talk a little bit more about how to guide the conversations, using the communication tools to your best advantage. Sometimes the how you choose to communicate with your customer can actually do some of the heavy lifting when you're building a relationship with the customer or maintaining relationship with the customer. So when we start off with methods, there are no methods here that I think anyone hasn't heard of. We're looking at email, voicemail and phone calls. We're looking at transactional ticketing and support platforms, and then presentation and webinar situations like this. So everyone has a different preferred method of communication. Who wants to tell me, and you guys can drop this in the chat, what is your preferred method of communication? Maybe not just necessarily for work, but how do you prefer to communicate with people? texting, phone calls. Okay, preferring a call for better understanding. Chats. Lots of chat, lots of text. Oh, video and phone. Okay. Let's take a pause then. What is a type of communication you don't like at all? What is a type of communication you do not want to use, you do not enjoy using, or that you even try to avoid? Phone calls and video calls, email, video calls. I'm sensing a theme. All right, so you guys can see the answers that we got back in the chat. I want to point out to you that if all of us don't agree on our favorite kinds of communication or the kinds of communication we don't like, there is absolutely zero hope that all of our customers will agree on how they want to communicate. So if each of you has your preferred method, that's great. Remember that you are the expert. Remember that your expertise is necessary. And remember that choosing a type of communication is now part of your expertise. But also make sure that you know what your customer's communication style is as well, because you'll get much further with them if you're communicating in a way that they prefer. So let's break it down. The reason I chose these four sort of overarching topics is because these are the four communication channels that I see are most universally available to most CS teams. Not all CS teams have access to chat or have access to texting. That's becoming more common. But most of the teams I've seen, email, video calls, there's usually some sort of ticket processing system. These are the things that most folks have available to them when working in CS. So these methods are also referred to as channels. So if you're doing training outside of this, you will sometimes see these referred to as channels. And so you can see there are different relevant, different relevant channels that you may want to use. We'll start off here at the top. You can see the selected method of communication can help with cadence control. So ensuring that you get a response from your customer, you can track customer responses, get approvals, and offer varying levels of collaboration with your customer. Selecting the method of communication, whether or not it's, transactional or not, will help to select what kind of communication you want to use. So we'll start here with the ticketing support system. Pros: it keeps a log of the full conversation. It's great for internal coordination with your team. And most of these systems will allow you to track the time and effort that goes into making a solution. So this is great for, this is great for those transactional conversations. Ooh. This is great for those transactional conversations, helps folks to understand what's happening for a specific instance. The downside can feel a little impersonal, and you're usually limited by the capacity of whatever tool you're using for your ticketing system. So limited capacity for, say, sending files or the number of people who can be added. I know the ticketing system we use, there's a max number of people from the customer side that we can add in to be recipients of the message. So there may be some limitations there. Webinars and presentations, great for one-to-many communication. They can be reusable. I heard Gloria say, recording this and making it available later can take a lot of work off of a CSM. So being able to have something that's recordable, that works for a lot of folks, really huge benefit when you're working with lots of customers. Depending on what kind of resources are available to you, it can be pretty resource heavy, can be resource intensive. It can also feel a little bit impersonal sometimes. So if you are doing a general walkthrough, or you're doing some sort of walkthrough that is not tailored specifically to your customers, and it is more for one-to-many communication, it can feel a little impersonal to your customers. Taking a look now at email and video calls. And I think these are probably some of the more common ways that most CSMs are going to have the more strategic conversations with their customers. So first off, email. The pros: you can keep a log of the full conversation. You can figure out who said what when, who made what decision. It may be cumbersome, but it will be in there somewhere. So you can keep a full log of the entire conversation. You still do have the option of one-to-many communication with email. You can email multiple stakeholders. You can include people from your team. So you still have the advantage of being able to communicate more than just one-on-one by using an email and making sure that all of the appropriate parties are added to that email. Potential for templates. I think this is often overlooked, but templates are wonderful. Templates can take a lot of remembering off of your brain, but also allows for customer consistency. If you have a very large team, if there are lots of CS people that are responding to customers, it becomes increasingly important that there is a unified and consistent message for consistent questions. So if there's a frequently asked question or a frequently used process, it can be good to have templates to provide consistency to your customers as well. One of my favorites, email, you can schedule send. I know personally, and I talk to my team a lot about personal work habits and how you make your job work for the way that you and your brain work. Um, I am useless talking to people before 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm just not at my best. I'm not going to be making complete sentences. This is the time when I need to troll through my emails, make an agenda or a to-do list for what I'm going to do today. It is not the time when I need to be writing emails or on calls with customers. It's just not when I'm going to be my best. I know that about myself. So at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when I know that I have a customer who is going to make their schedule for tomorrow as soon as they get in the door, I'm going to write my email at 2 in the afternoon when I'm freshest, when I feel the most confident in my communication capabilities, and I'm going to schedule it to go out at 6 a.m. the next day. I don't have to be at my best at 6 a.m. the next day to send that message. So being able to schedule things helps you build in time management for yourself, and also allows you to build a bridge between your preferred communication style, your preferred communication time, and your customer. Email. Again, email can feel impersonal. Templates can feel impersonal. How many times have folks here received an email from a company and you looked at it and your first thought was, you have absolutely no idea who I am? Has anyone gotten one of those? No, nobody gets these? I've got to clean out my inbox then. I get these. I definitely get them at work where somebody says, "Oh, we think you could use this new ticketing system. You could use this new service." And I think that's not even the product that we sell. That's not even what we do. So sometimes email can feel really impersonal, um, because it's not being tailored correctly. It's not being used in a way that allows your customers to feel connected. Um, it may not be accessible to all of your customers all of the time. Um, I had a really great customer, Gary. Gary was one of my favorite customers. He recently retired. Gary worked in construction, and he was often on construction sites. I did not know this when I first started taking care of his account. And we scheduled regular Zoom calls like I do with most of my customers. Uh, and it wasn't until I had been working with Gary for about 6 months that I realized he had never, not once, not one single time, seen anything that I was screen sharing because he was on his phone, but he wasn't looking at his phone. And come to find out, Gary usually took his meeting with me from inside of his truck at the construction site. And so when I asked him about this, he just said, "I just don't have access to the video and I don't have access to my email when I'm out here." So this explained to me why my emails would go unread for weeks. But he was a fantastic customer. I didn't have the right communication. The right communication was not to email Gary. What I did learn was if I needed to send him an email, if I needed something written down, to call Gary and tell him that I'm going to send him an email that he needs to read. And he would read it every single time. But I had to call him and ask him to do it. So, not all of your customers are always going to have access to email, to voice calls, to whatever medium you have, but especially email. If you have customers that are out in the field, they may not have access to it. Also, while it's great that you can get the full context of the full conversation, that was one of the pros we talked about. One of the cons is if somebody has to jump in midstream, that's a lot to catch up on. And if there's no way to synthesize all of that information, if there's no way for them to catch up, it can be very daunting. It can lead new stakeholders to be very frustrated with jumping into a process that is, already started. Now, there are ways that, you can help your customers get around this. You can literally drop the whole thing into the AI of your choice and ask for a summary. There are tools to do this, but be aware that if there's a chance that stakeholders are going to jump in the middle of a process, it may be worth your while to continually repeat points, or understand that some folks may lose context through a long email chain. Finally, we're looking at video calls and phone calls. I saw a lot of people said this was not your cup of tea, that you just did not enjoy video calls and phone calls. Um, Video calls and phone calls can be some of the best ways to build rapport with customers. And I will say the reason behind that is because folks can read your body language, emails, text messages. I think we've all been in a situation where the context of the message or the message has been taken out of context, because they didn't know you or didn't know your tone of voice, um, things like that. Until you know a customer and you feel comfortable using more transactional channels, using a video call, using a phone call allows them to see you, to hear your voice. That especially becomes important when, we'll talk about this a little bit later today, when you have to say no, for them to see that you're saying no, but that you're offering other options, that you're being genuine about it. There are ways that you communicate with your tone and with your body that cannot be adequately conveyed other ways. So, building rapport can often go a lot faster in a video call or a phone call. Video calls and phone calls can be really great for quick fixes. If you want to screen share, if you want to talk to several people at once, if you need to do an introduction to a new person who's going to be a resource on the account. If you're going to do something that's a quick fix, sometimes it is easier to do a show and tell rather than, taking all the screenshots and putting something into a ticket or into an email. It can go faster sometimes if you just decide, let's take 10 minutes. Let's talk about this, and then we can go back to our regular channel of email or ticketing. The cons, like Gary, sometimes it is just really hard to schedule a phone call or a video chat. It's not always easy to make sure that all of the stakeholders are available to sit down and talk about something. For you as a CSM, it may require on the spot responses. So the customer may ask you something and require a response or expect a response right away in that moment, when really you need to take that away, talk to the rest of your team, or do some investigating before you feel comfortable in the answer that you give your customer. So you have to be comfortable deflecting that back to your customer and making sure that you say, I need to take that away, or that's a really great question. Let me check on a few things. You have to feel comfortable doing that rather than feeling like you're on the spot. But definitely with video calls and phone calls, you can be put into the spotlight requesting an answer to a question right away. And lastly, there's limited collaboration. This is a Zoom webinar where I'm doing a lot of the talking. Everyone here is, able to answer questions and put things into the chat. But if you're talking to a customer or you're having a QBR and they want 20 people there, and your team is also bringing 5 people, there's going to be limited collaboration that everyone can do. Now, in some cases, that's fine because there's not going to be active participation. It's going to be that folks are more watching or they just need to be informed. But if you do need lots of collaboration, video calls and phone calls can sometimes be stifling if you don't have a correct cadence in using them. Folks can talk over each other, messages get mixed. So if you're going to do that kind of collaboration, you may be limited in the type of collaboration that you want to do in a video call or a phone call. So I'll pause there for a moment. Any questions on any of the methods we just talked about? Or has anyone changed their mind about what they like or don't like as far as customer communication? I'm guessing not. Alrighty, we'll move on then. So customer love languages. So we've talked about how we want to interact with the customer, sort of the bare bones of what method we're going to use. But another huge part of that is making sure that our communication with our customer is valuable to the customer. You never want to talk to a customer just to talk to them. There should always be a reason, there should always be an objective, and it should always be something that will benefit them. Oh, Vikram, that's a great question. So Vikram asked in the chat, when do you prefer emails? So I prefer emails when I need to introduce something that I think is going to require my customer to look at something very specifically, and I want to give them time to think about it. So we talked about with phone calls and video calls, we might be put on the spot. Our customer is also on the spot. If I really want them to think about making a decision, I will put it in writing. I will message them and let them know, the details, the nuts and bolts of what we want to do, what we plan to do, what my thoughts are. And then I'll follow it up with saying, and then we can talk about this on such and such date. That way, I guarantee that my customer is actually going to think about it and not feel like they are under pressure to answer right away. Yes, all communication options serve a unique purpose, 100%. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these love languages. I think love languages might be a little bit of a misnomer. I think this is more how to connect with your customer in a way that ensures that your communication is valuable. So, number 5 is bring us new ways to address challenges and priorities. This gets right to the heart of what CS does. It is about helping your customer to achieve an objective, to meet a goal, and finding new and novel ways for your customer to do that adds value. So if you can find a new way to address their problem, then you've provided value to them simply with your expertise. So that is one of the first ways that you can meet a customer where they are and show your value in your communication is come to them with a resolution or come to them with ideas on how to manage a pain point. Number 4 is be curious about their top business priorities. So one of the questions that I have my team ask whenever we do a QBR or whenever we do an annual review, I always say, make sure you ask what's at the top of their whiteboard. And what I say when I say that is you don't just want to talk about what's important to your stakeholder or what's important to your stakeholder's department. You want to know at the annual meeting for this company, what did they decide was their primary focus? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? Because while your stakeholder may be focused on a very narrow piece of how they contribute to that overall objective, you may be able to find other ways that you can contribute. So ask them about industry trends, ask them about standard practices, ask them what is a priority in their industry and what is a priority to their company as a whole. Related to that is number 3, which is helping your stakeholder do their job better. This is another thing that we cover when we talk about champions on my team is we talk about who do we need to make look like a rock star? Who do we need to promote in such a way that we elevate them internally in their company and they understand that we are a part of their personal success? Part of doing that is understanding what their job is. What is it that they do from day to day? Who are they responsible for? What are they responsible for? Who are they beholden to? Who is it they need to try to impress or who do they report to internally? And what are the expectations that are handed to that individual that they need to meet in order for them to advance in their career where they work? So refresh their training, make sure that they can do everything they could possibly need to do. Make sure they are an internal expert and there are no knowledge gaps that would prevent them from being as efficient as possible. In number 4, we talked about looking for industry trends. If they don't have any, go find them for them. Go take a look at their competitors. Go take a look at other folks who have a similar job title to them and see what those folks are doing and bring that back to the conversation. And work with your customers to build efficient practices. So many times customers will say, we do it this way because that's how we've always done this. And that's really just not sufficient. Allow yourself to be that fresh set of eyes for your customer and ask them, how can we do this better? And then offer to help them make that happen. How do we make things better? How do we make things more efficient? How do we make you a rock star? And let's put that as a plan into practice. Number 2, and this has a lot to do with collaborating with your customers and not just serving your customers. Talk to them, be authentic with them, be real with them, be honest with them. Ask open ended questions and wait for answers. Listen with the intent to understand, not necessarily with the intent to fix something or sell something or to respond to them. Making sure that when you speak to your customer, you meet them like you're meeting a colleague on a shared goal or a shared project. You both have this goal, you both want to achieve it. That means you may have some things that you need to work on. You may have to collaborate on some things to fix. Not everything's going to go smoothly. But if they feel invested in what's happening and they feel like you are working with them, you will get to go much, 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 much further with your customers and you will build rapport with them much more quickly. Also, by working with your customer and not always working for your customer, you will start to put yourself in a position where your customer sees you as an expert. If they ask you to do things and you always just do them, they will start to think of you as more transactional. You are more like support. You're more like the help desk. I ask you to do something, you go do it. If you want to feel like you are the expert, if you want to show them your expertise and how you can partner with them, you have to work with them like a partner. And that means listening and being authentic and also occasionally telling them no. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes as well. Lastly, and I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, do what you say you're going to do. And there's no shorthand, there's no tips or tricks to this. Do what you say you're going to do. This is not always easy, but it is the cornerstone of building your trusted relationship with a customer. If you say that you are going to deliver something, deliver it. If you say that you're going to respond by a certain day, do that. And if you are unable to fulfill that promise, go back to them and explain to them why. Go back to them and tell them why. Bring them along with you on the process so that there are no questions about why did somebody not follow up with me? Why did somebody not get me what I needed? Don't leave them in the dark. Do what you say you're going to do. If you can't do what you're going to say, if you can't do what you say you're going to do, then make sure that your customer feels informed about the process. So I'm going to take a big pause here as we're coming up to about the hour mark and ask if anybody has any questions so far. Didn't see any more in the chat. Okay. Then we will move on to what I believe is going to be our last section for today. I don't think we are. Oh, we do have a question. Go ahead. I see somebody's hand up.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You're a little muffled.
Hello, can you hear me now?
A little bit. If you want, you can type it and I can answer out loud. Sonia, if you have a question, you can go ahead and put it in the chat as well, and we'll all cover it together. Do you guys want me to keep going and give you some time to type them out?
Okay, Wiba, can you go ahead and ask your question if it's taking time? Maybe I can hear or understand. After that, we'll take Timitokwe.
I've dropped it in comment section.
Oh, okay. Timitokwe, can you go with your question while?
It was not a question. I was just volunteering to read Muibat's question out if that was going to be better because
Oh,
Okay.
Virginia said she couldn't hear her. So should I just go ahead to read it out if you can hear
yes,
me
please.
clearly? So
Yes,
Muibat
please.
says that as a CS, is there a number of customers to handle to be able to deliver optimal results for them? With a pool of like 500 customers to a CS to a CSM, I believe is what Muibat wanted to type. I find it hard to deliver 100% to all customer and feel loved. So the question basically is if there's a limit to the number of customers a CSM should handle per time.
So, short answer, that's a good question. Short answer, yes. There is a limit to the number of customers one person should handle. The number of customers is going to be different depending on what company, what kind of product, and what the expectations are for you. I will say for my team, none of my CSMs handle more than 25 customers. Um, that being said, we also handle much of the support desk. We do a lot of marketing. We help the implementation team sometimes build out functionality and new modules when customers upsell. So there is a lot involved in the job of the people who report to me. So they don't have as many customers. I have talked to other CS leaders that say, "Oh yeah, everybody on my team has 1,000 customers." I have a panic attack thinking about that, but also I know that what their team expectations are very different from the expectations my team has. So rather than thinking about what is the number, start thinking about what are the functions that are absolutely essential to keep your customer happy and happy with you. Take a look at how much time each of those take, and then look at how much time you have in your week. If you have to sit down with a customer for an hour every day, I'm being sarcastic, but if you have to sit down with a customer for an hour every day, you're not going to be able to handle 500 customers. That's just not realistic. um, but you may be able to handle 5 customers really, really well at that pace. So take a look at what the specific things are that you're being asked to do and you're being asked to achieve. Figure out how much time those are taking, and then that will tell you what the threshold is for you being able to take care of your customers. Now, when you think about that, also think about, are there ways that I can make this easier on myself? So I know we mentioned earlier things like templates. Templates don't have to be company wide, they can be just yours. They can be, I have a Word document over here that just means I don't have to use any brain power to ever write this email again. I just need to put in a date and a dollar amount and a dear whoever, and it's good to go. So you can make yourself templates. Are there ways that you can select a different channel that will help you move faster? If that is an email that you're sending out to a lot of people, can you just throw everyone in a BCC and send it all at once? Or does everyone need their own individual email? That's for you to decide. Again, you're the expert. Also, do they need to sit down and talk to you for 3 hours? Or is that just their preference? And is there a way that you can start showing them that there are better channels to use, more time-saving channels to use, still have access to you, still have the same level of service without making those requests? So I think it's a great question. It's definitely something that you need to analyze as an individual, not just as an individual working for a specific company, but as an individual person. Um, I do. I don't know if I'll get to talk about it on the 16th, but if I don't, you can message me on LinkedIn, and I will talk to you about ways to organize your work week, ways to organize your work so that it meshes best with you. And I found with my team that helps with a lot of time savings. Is if you make your schedule work for the way that you function, you'll actually start to pick up a little bit of time. You'll see that you can actually handle a few more customers than you thought you could. So Sonia had a great question here. So earlier you said there must be a reason why we reach out to customers. Is it wrong to reach out to customers to check in with them, regularly communicate with clients if we can't call them just to check in? Just to check in is a brilliant reason to call someone, but it's a brilliant reason for us. It is not a brilliant reason for the customer. If the customer wanted to check in with you, they would have called you. So if you're checking in with the customer, you need to check in with the customer by giving them or taking them something that they care about. Hey, we had a new product change. I wanted to see that you saw this. Hey, we're offering a seminar on Thursday. I didn't see you signed up. Do you want me to get you registered? You can check in on people while still taking them something that is valuable. I agree. You do sometimes have to check in on your customers. You just have to tap and make sure they're still there, make sure they're still breathing, because sometimes customers will go completely dark on you. But when you do that, if you just say, hey, just checking on you, checking on what? I'm fine. I'm over here by myself doing my work, doing what my business needs me to do. They don't need a check in. We need the check in. So, how do we make it so that they are engaged with us checking in? So, yes, you can check in. Make sure when you do it, you take something that's valuable to the customer to that check in. How do you know if the customer is not right for your product? This is a lovely question. There are lots of ways. I don't think there's any one way. And this is a really big topic. I think one of the best ways is to look at the data behind other customers that have been successful and compare it to that customer. We've recently done this as well. We had a customer that was paying us a lot of money, and we all just kept saying, it's not going to work. We're not what they want. And what we needed to do was go and look at who are our most successful customers and contrast that with this customer and see, is it just in our mind that we think this isn't a good fit, or is it truly not a good fit? And what we found is it truly wasn't a good fit. Now, we made it a good fit because they were paying us a lot of money, but we at least knew what we were battling with. We knew what we were battling against. We knew what points made them not a good fit and we needed to address. So there are going to be customers that you have to fire, or that will fire themselves because they're not a good fit. The best way to pinpoint them is to look at your customers who are successful and contrast them, or look at your customers that are super unsuccessful. Look at the customers who have already churned. If it's a mirror image for the customer that you're looking at, and none of the things that made this customer churn have changed since this customer came along, chances are you're going to have the same thing happen to this customer as happened to this customer. Vikram, do you categorize your customers based on their contract value and prioritize? That way you give more time to high value customers. So you guys have such great questions. Now I'm having fun. Okay. Yes and no. So I definitely look at two existing numbers, which is their total contract value. That's the value of what they are using in our product. And then also their ARR, which is the check they cut us, which sometimes is a little bit less than that total contract value. So if there was some sort of discount that was given, I know for some of our longer customers, they have legacy customer discounts where the annual increase for them is not as high as for some of our newer customers. So their total contract value is less than the check that they send us. So I look at both of those things because the customer is expecting service along the same lines as their total contract value. What they're sending us does not matter to them. So if they fall into one of my buckets for, say, $50,000, but their total contract value is 75, they're expecting $75,000 worth of service out of my team, even if they're only paying us $50,000. So I have to look at both of those. The other thing that you have to look at is what is their potential. So especially with new customers, if your sales team is doing you right, they're probably selling something very small, something fairly manageable for your customer, and they're relying on the CS team to grow that account as it goes. So your newer customers may show up to you being very small. That doesn't necessarily mean that they need less service. If you look at that customer and you see lots of potential for them to grow, lots of potential for them to expand, they may be worth more effort than even a higher dollar customer who's always going to stay exactly where they are. If this customer can eventually surpass this one, you're going to want to put more effort here. So you kind of have to think on different levels. How much do they think they should get? How much are they actually paying? And where do I think this account can go in the near future? And do I think that I can leverage this into, raising these other two numbers by growing this account? And that will help you to decide how much effort you want to put into your customers. Other things that you can think about, my team deals a lot with marketing and getting referrals, and which of these customers is going to speak well to us. If a prospect says, I want to talk to somebody who's already using this, who can I talk to? I have some customers, all day long, they will talk to our prospects and say fantastic things. I put a lot of effort into those customers, even if they're paying me 15 cents, because they are helping to grow my business. They are helping to make sure we get new customers. So even though that's not a check they're cutting us, that's money they're bringing me. So I'm going to add that to what is the value of this customer. So I think don't necessarily just look at their contract value, look at their value to you as a customer, and then look at the kind of service they're expecting to get from you based off of what they're paying. So there's several different narratives there, but that will help you decide exactly how much energy and effort you want to put into those customers. Yes, considering the NPS of customers, not just NPS. I'm a huge fan of customer effort scores. I feel like those are way underutilized. One of the things customers don't like doing is putting forth effort. They don't like it. They want things to be easy. If you give them a customer effort score, if you want to ask them, hey, how much energy did it take you to do this? That will tell you a lot about how willing they are to do things in the future, how willing they are to, be that partner with you on the next project. But also, it can be a big rapport killer to have to put in a lot of effort unnecessarily for something if that's not what you were expecting as the customer. So yes, I love NPS, I love CSAT, I love customer effort scores. They do different things for different people, but they are all very good, very neutral ways of asking your customer, "Hey, what's up? How are you feeling?" All right. Any other questions before I jump into what I think will be our last section today? All right. Saying no to customers. All right. So in the world of CSM, we are people pleasers. We like to make things work. We like to see people happy. It's a lot of who ends up in this as a career. We like to see things work in the end, and we love to say yes. You cannot always say yes. So, saying no is extraordinarily important. And when I talk to newer CSMs, there are two types of conversations that are just so incredibly uncomfortable for new CSMs. One is talking about money. Anytime you have to talk about money, that makes everybody itchy. Nobody wants to pay any more for what they're getting. That can be a really uncomfortable conversation. And the second one is saying no. Now, you might, depending on the structure of your company, you might get out of those money conversations, but I guarantee you, you are going to have to tell people no, and you're going to have to do it more often than you think, because yes and no are oars on your boat. Okay. If you are in a boat and you always use the yes oar, you're going to spin in circles. You're not going to go the direction you want to go. You're going to achieve absolutely nothing. You will be at the mercy of the currents. And in the end, when your customer sees you didn't get them where they wanted to go, all of the yeses in the world will not matter because they will not be happy. They will not remember that you bent over backwards to always make it a yes. They will remember we did not achieve the objective we set out to achieve. So, it is my hope that the next time you have to say no to a customer, you can sing no, 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 your boat in your head, and it will take a little bit of the sting out of you having to have that conversation. You can giggle to yourself, but it really is important to remember if you're not using yes and no to get you where you want to go, you're not going to go anywhere well. You are not going to go anywhere with any purpose. So, um, good customers will let you steer that boat. And again, once you present yourself as the expert, customers will let you steer the boat and they will let you say no. But saying no is not easy and it's not fun. So let's talk about some hacks to do that. So, saying no to customers. As a CSM, there will be times you need to communicate a no. And it can come in a lot of different forms. So there's a missing functionality or a missing capability. No, we don't have that. The customer request is out of scope. Now, I said out of scope on this slide because I'm being professional, but sometimes it's just outrageous or ridiculous. Sometimes they ask you for the moon, and you have to tell them, no, we're not going to do that. Sometimes a timeline just cannot be met. It is not going to happen, and you have to tell them no. And then if you'd like to just combine the two most uncomfortable conversations, you can say no to a pricing adjustment that they've asked for. So you can talk about money while telling them no all at the same time. It's important to learn to say no, and you don't have to lie. You don't have to make excuses. You don't have to over explain. That's, the quote at the bottom. You don't have to put a lot of oomph into saying no. You just have to say it in a way that allows your customer to accept it. So I have three ways that I sort of talk about saying no to customers. The first is no, but, which means I can't do X, but I can do Y. And this goes back to what was the objective? If we look at the objective and I can't do it this way, but I can still get you there in another way, then I can say no to this, but I can still get you to the objective. So this is a way where you take a step back. You don't let the customer prescribe the solution. You figure out what the objective is, and then you tell them how you can get them there. So no, but we can do this. No, and this is really leaning into you being the expert. This is, I'm not going to do this. And let me tell you why. My team sees this quite often when a customer asks for a change in their platform. And we say, we're not going to do that because do you know if you change that, these other 15 things will no longer function the way you asked for them to. Do we want to go through all of these? Or again, can we step back and look at the objective? You tell me what it is you're trying to do, and I can get you there. So this really leans into your expertise. You're steering the boat, you're using the no or, you're saying no because you are the expert, you know where you're trying to go, and this isn't how you get there. But again, you're going to talk to them about how you get there by saying, this is another thing that we can do. No and pivot. Not gonna lie, this is just throwing glitter in their face and hoping they don't notice that you said no. It's just saying no and running away. It's a lot of distraction, but you can do it in a way that reminds the customer they had other wins. So I'll use I have an 8-year-old son. I'll use my son as an example for this one. And I'll use it along with another technique called, sandwiching a no in between two yeses. So if my son comes home from school today and says that he would really like ice cream, it's not going to happen. If I say no, it's going to be a whole conversation. But if I remind him, hey, on Monday, we baked cookies. And this weekend, we're going to that festival and they're going to have cotton candy there. So let's not have ice cream tonight. All of a sudden, not having ice cream tonight, probably not the 8-year-old meltdown tragedy that I thought it was going to be 10 minutes ago. Because I've reminded him that there are treats on either end of today. So you can do the same thing with customers. I'm not going to give you this, but remember when we did this, and remember that we're going to do this, and get them to remember the wins while they're having to digest that no in the middle of it. So any questions here on these 3 types of no's? And yes, feel free to use them on your children. So do a few more tips on saying no to customers. So remember, saying yes to anything means taking something off of the plate. It means changing the objective or changing the trajectory. And you can remind customers of that. You can remind them asking for this change will mean we don't do the following things. And this is important for you to remember as individual CSMs as well. If somebody gives you another task, the plate doesn't get bigger. There aren't 25 hours in the day all of a sudden. You have to figure out what comes off the plate, or you have to ask your manager, okay, what is no longer a priority? What needs to come off my plate? So this is part of the conversation that you can have with customers. Sometimes you can say, it can be a yes if you'd like me to turn one of the other yeses into a no. So first and foremost, other tips on saying no, ask for clarification. Sometimes this can get you from, glitter and distraction to, oh, no, we can't do this, but we can do this. Sometimes it can get you all the way to a yes when a customer really explains what it is that they're looking for. So asking for clarification. This means you're showing that you're engaged. Again, you're meeting them as a partner. But you're also going to be able to give them that no with a little bit more expertise. Number 2, explain what's going to happen next. If you say no, but I'm going to go talk to my team, we're going to have a meeting on Wednesday, I will send you an email on Friday. Make sure they know what is happening, because customers always assume the answer is yes until they get a no. Customers will always assume yes unless you say otherwise. And customer woes are not additive, they are exponential. They don't just stack up like bricks, they snowball. So if you let a customer have a misconception, every little other thing will glob onto that. You'll end up with a very disgruntled customer. So keeping folks up to date, making sure they understand what's going to happen. Explain the reason for the current state. There are a lot of times that your customer specifically chose what they are now trying to change, and you need to remind them. You specifically asked for this because this. Has that changed? Again, asking questions, asking for clarification. Again, you might not have to give them a no. Once you give them that information, they might say, "Oh yeah, no, never mind. I don't want to do that." So, making sure that you give them a reason for the current state of things can either give you more information on what their priorities are or can sometimes just take the question off the table altogether. Be honest. I know we covered this before. Be honest. If you know it's a no, say no. Don't say, "I'll check on it," and then send them an email that says no later. Just say no. Customers will always be happier if you say no and then come back later and say, "Actually, there was a product change and it's a yes now," than if you say maybe and then you come back and say no. Say no. If you know it's a no, say no and be honest. Reframe the no using positive language. I have somebody on my team who is an absolute expert on this. I don't know how she does it, but it's phenomenal. So a customer will say, "I can't believe this is going to take 3 weeks." And she'll say, "I know it's going to be done in under a month." And all of a sudden, they are less frustrated. It's like, it's magic. It is. I had to learn this tip from her. I was like, what just happened there? And all of a sudden, what reframed in their mind was, "Oh, maybe this usually takes a month. Maybe this usually takes longer than a month. Maybe we should be super excited about 3 weeks." So there are ways to reframe a no using positive language that will allow the customer to actually see a change in the process as a win. And sometimes it's an honest win because the process in this specific situation, the process she was talking about usually took 3 months. So 3 weeks for us was darn near miraculous. Um, but to the customer, 3 weeks felt like forever. But being able to reframe it really helped us to sort of make that a win. Last is make sure that your customers feel heard. Take the wind out of their frustration sails. If they say this isn't acceptable, don't push back. Say, "I understand why you are frustrated." Customers will get to the conversation about what's frustrating a lot faster if you don't push back on the frustration itself. So don't let that become part of the narrative of you having to say no. So, yes, Vikram, the glass is always half full. Even if it's half empty, it's always half full. And if it's not half full, you can like break the glass and make it smaller, and then it will be half full. All right. So I know it looks like we only have 5 minutes left. I'm super sorry. I'm cutting it close. I do want to give everyone a little bit of homework. It's a very little bit, I promise. But one thing that is super important, not necessarily for your customers, but for all of you, is to know how you learn, how you absorb information. So much of being a CSM is around what you are willing to learn, what you want to learn, learning about your customer, learning about the company. So knowing how you learn will make this so much faster. So 4 basic learning styles: visual, auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. Your homework is just to determine which of these you feel apply to you. And then I want you to think about, how do I know that? How do I know that this is how I learn? Once you've thought through that a little bit, start thinking about, especially those of you already working with customers or who have worked with customers before, think about, what are the signs in my customer that will show me how they learn? Because again, along with communication and picking channels, knowing how they learn will also impact what channels you pick. If they are not a visual learner, don't bother with that video call. Send them an email that they can read and reread and reread, because that's how they learn. So your homework is figure out what your learning style is, figure out why you know that's your learning style, and then figure out how would I learn or how would I know what my customer's preferred learning style is? All right. And I know we're wrapping up for today, so I will stop screen sharing. But we will pick up on, I believe, the 16th, and we will talk about cadence and communication control. And I will talk a little bit more about apathetic customers. So I believe it was Sonia that asked, "Hey, what do we do if we're just checking in?" We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when your customers kind of go dark, they get apathetic, they get very meh, and they don't want to do anything. What do we do? How do we re-engage them?
All right. Thank you so much.
It has
That
been my
was
pleasure.
the class was so insightful, and I had to like have my notes here, writing and all that. Yes. Do we have any questions before we go? We have already like spent our time. Do we have questions? The class was very insightful. Please, I want to see your feedback in the chat, or one or two people that want to say what they have learned from this class today. What have you learned? And maybe you can just unmute and let us in on that, or you can just use the chat. Let's hear your feedback before we go. Then we'll go over to having questions and answers.
And I will make this offer to this group. Um, if you have a question that pops up later, find me on LinkedIn, message me. I will answer your question.
Okay, awesome. That's really good. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Anyone wants to go? Anything you have learned today? Okay, I can see some feedback here. The class was very insightful. Thank you so much. The class was very informative. The class was, she really broke down everything down in simple terms. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Very insightful. Will the slide be made available to us? We're not so sure yet, but we'll look at that. Thank you so much. Again, valuable insight. Okay. All right. I learned that any method of communication you want to use should be valuable to your customers. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the feedback, everyone. So, do we have question? We can take one question before we go to the if any at all. Do we have any question? Any question?
Oh, I love that last feedback. Yes, you should present yourself to your customers as the expert. Don't get pushed around. Woo. Yes, you are the expert. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Communicate
Absolutely.
the way your customers prefer. Oh, this is wonderful. Awesome.
Okay, all right, everyone. It seems we don't have any question tonight. Do we have one question before we go? Okay, she made it very simple, so we all grasp everything. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us. We learned a lot, and I'm so happy that we are having you again the second time on the system. So yeah, we're going to gain more value and just have you speak to us again. All right,
Yep.
everyone. I don't think I can share my screen right now. Oh, okay. You can give me access to the to be the host.
Oh, can I
Yeah.
give you access? How do I make you the host?
Okay, you just click on my name and you see make host or make a host or something like that.
Oh, where it is. There we go.
Okay. All right, everyone. We don't have so much again, so yeah, I need to make. So our class continues tomorrow by the same. Okay, tomorrow's class is by 8 to 9:30. So please get ready for that. We have another powerhouse coming to share with us. Okay. All right. So that's all for today. Thank you again for joining us. If you have any question, like she said, please follow her. Do you have your LinkedIn profile? Anyway, I probably will share it again, share it on the group, so they can follow you, connect with you, and just ask questions. Is that okay?
I don't have it. I have a QR code that I will post up on the 16th. But if you just look for Virginia Bloom in Chicago, Illinois, you will find me. Or I know that Gloria, you did do a post that linked me as well, and so you can find me through that post.
Okay, awesome. That's good. So once you see the post I made today, you will see her. Please connect with her, ask her questions. If you are looking for people that have been there, done that, she's actually in there. So please don't. I didn't say abuse that privilege, okay? So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much once again, and hope to see you. Can have a wonderful, wonderful day. I know it's not yet midnight there. Here it's already it's like 8:30 p.m. More like night here. So have a wonderful have a wonderful day and thank you. Everyone, see you in class tomorrow. Same place by 9 8 p.m. If you have any question, drop it in the chat. And also we have the community manager here. So questions and anything you need, just ask her on the group. See you all tomorrow. Have an amazing evening. And if you're joining us from another place, another country, continent, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Gloria. It's so lovely to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for being
Thank you,
so
Miss Virginia.
active. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Temitope. Thank you, Nemisi. I can see you.
Thank
Moibat, how
you.
was your fasting today? Hope you're still strong to go for tomorrow. All right. Have an amazing evening, everyone. Okay.